Page 12, 1812, Overture Excerpt. They're introducing a thing we use in music called a tremolo. When you have two notes and you alternate between the two notes, it's either a trill or a tremolo. Those are the two choices you get. If the notes are next to each other, here or here, can have one note in between, that's okay, or here. They're next to each other, sort of. They can't have more than one note in between. And you alternate them. That is a trill. It's a type of ornament used in music. A tremolo is when the notes are further apart. So it's like here, if I go down another one here, that would be tremolo because they're not next to each other and they're alternating the two notes. That's really all it is. They have their uses for piano because when a piano plays a note, the note just dies away. Well, with a tremolo or a trill, you can sustain the note. You give the illusion that the note is being sustained, and you can even crescendo or whatever. Here, in the left hand, they've got the octave D's going, and they're tremoloing. It sustains it. It's like here, only it's sustained out indefinitely. So they have their uses, and they've been around a long time. Franz Liszt really used them a great deal in his transcriptions of orchestra music. He used tremolos. He's a big believer in them, but then he could play real fast too, so okay. I'm not crazy about tremolos on piano myself, but here they are. We use them, so they're okay. The kicker with tremolos and trills both, and people don't agree on this either. Now, I prefer to have them done rhythmically. That is a certain number of notes per each beat. Otherwise, it would just be an uncontrolled shake. Some people do that. They prefer the uncontrolled method. I prefer rhythmically, and that's what I teach. They've written them out here for you as 16th notes, so they're playing 16th notes on them. They could be 8th notes. They could be any alternating thing can be a tremolo. Doesn't matter how fast it goes. Typically they go fairly quickly, but speed isn't important. They're alternating notes. Now let's talk about this overture thing. A very famous melody by Tchaikowsky. It's an arrangement of orchestra music. Keep that in mind. 4/4 time, 1 sharp, or in the key of G major. So make sure you can do the G major scale and the E minor scale because it also has 1 sharp. 2 octaves up and down would be good, and probably the arpeggios also, the G major and E minor arpeggio. It's the trill and the tremolo exercise in those videos. I have videos on them. That's really important. Do what I tell you to do with the accents and the wrist drop and the whole thing. It will really help you to gain the control on these, to play them smoothly and evenly and under control and all that. Yeah. There are no shortcuts I'm aware of in learning to play scales and arpeggios well. You simply have to go through and do the stuff. Right hand first, check notes and rhythms. Now, this is not necessarily a fast piece, but with a 16th notes, they move pretty good. So here at the beginning, it's a pickup measure, and we have 1.5 counts in it. So you're coming in on the and of 3. 3 and 4 and. 3 and 4 and. 3 and a 3 and a 4 and. Here. If you look at the last measure on pages 13, it has a half note and an 8th note, 2.5 counts. Well, that's the first 2.5 counts, and then the last 1.5 counts is at the top. It works out. It's 4 counts total. So here, in a G chord, just come on up. G chord, and then back down here, and up here, just chords. Watch the accidentals. You can do that down here, but that's a little awkward. The fingering in the book is better, in my opinion. Yeah. 3rd line down, 2nd measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And in the last measure, they have the sharp sign there in parentheses. See, you had F naturals in the previous measure. They're only good for that measure. So the sharp sign in the last measure isn't really necessary. It's a sharp anyway, but it's a courtesy sign. That's why it's in parentheses. It's an F sharp. Now we just have what would be a, I don't want to get into the modes. This is almost a D major scale. Except it just has a C natural. And then you have the chords at the top, page 13. So now go from the last measure of the first line to the first measure of the second line on page 13. You're going from here to here. The thumb is my pivot. I'm just coming across here. I hold it down to come across. I like the fingering here on there. Third line down. Watch the fingering. Slide off. Come across. Use the thumb as a pivot. Come across. And come across again. I mean, we do this a lot in piano 1/3. You have to come across. And the last line is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. The eighth notes in the left hand will help you there. Now on these chords in the last two measures, here, I don't like moving my hand any more than I have to. So I want to take out some of the hand motion. I mean, it's showy. If you want to be showy, by all means move the hand. But otherwise, rather than 1/5, I'm going to do a 1/4. I'm going to do the first three notes in this position. And not change. So it's here, here. And then when I come up here, I'm going to do it in this position. The last two in this position. So I only moved one time. Is what I recommend. It's a good habit to get into because in a lot of pieces that helps. Left hand's just got this 16th notes. 1 ianda, 2 ianda. And I'm just alternating. I'm rotating here. I'm not using the fingers trying to do it. I'm rotating. And make sure it's rhythmically. Put in just if you have to exaggerate it, put in an accent on the beat. And clutch the wrist here. Don't play with a stiff wrist. Don't get tense. You want to relax. Now on the second line, they've changed to the tremolo symbol. Be careful. They've labeled it tremolo, so you know what it is. Normally you don't get the word tremolo. They're just telling you what it is. That's what it looks like. The two beams across here are not necessarily telling you to play 16th notes, although in a way they are. Because the tremolos, some tremolos, you'll see it with 3 lines across. If it's got 3 lines across, that means it's just a shake. There's just however many, just go for it. It's not rhythmically. But with 2 lines across, you're doing it rhythmically, and it depends on the notes as to whether they're 8th notes or 16th notes or 32nd notes or something. So the 2 lines simply means it's a controlled rhythmic tremolo. In this case, it happens to be 16th notes. They've written them out on the first line, and you just keep playing them on the second. It's the same thing as the first line, 16th notes. And the third line, they didn't need to finish it like that, but they wrote it, it's clear, 16th notes for the first 3 beats. And come up. I like to do 1, 2, 3, and then it's a G sharp B. Then at the bottom of the page, the last 2 measures, the chords. 4th finger on the B, not 3. Because that's fingering for the chord. I recommend 4. Some people teach 3, and the book obviously does. Finger it the way I would do it in our arpeggio, and that's 4. Now, I need to deal with one more little problem in fingering this piece. It's not a fast piece, but the 16th notes move along pretty good. So it's the note 1, 2, 3. Well, that's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. The 16th notes move. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 So when I have repeated 16th notes like I do here at the beginning, I prefer to use different fingers on those. It helps to keep me relaxed. Now, using different fingers on repeated notes is not so easy at first, but I would encourage you to try it. Work on it over time, and it could be any fingers. Here, I'm just going to alternate between 1 and 2, and so it's like 1, 2, 1, 2. I want to end on 2 so I can get the chord. So you have to figure out which finger you want to start on based on what comes after sometimes. So think about that. But it's easier for me to than I tense up. I can stay relaxed if I use different fingers. Then on page 13 in the left hand, we have these different possibilities here. You can do the 1, 2, 1 if you want. It doesn't come out right. You got to use thumb on both 8th notes. And I still do a 1, 2. Or, you want to get more adventurous. 1, 3, 2, 1. It's not this 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Should do it in both hands. If you don't like listening to that, then do a harmony. Pick another note in a G chord here. Take it your speed, but get to where it sort of feels okay, and try that. You can do that. On those, rather than the same finger for the 16th notes. 8th notes aren't so bad because they're not so fast, but still it gives us a chance to practice that. Put the hands together, it's here. I'm going to take this slow at first. You get the idea of what I'm doing? Third line down, you're here. These drums going bum, bubble, bum, bum. It's got to be steady. Now, once you can play the notes and you get rid of the hesitations and you go slow, then you might think about the articulation. These are staccato. That's fine, you can do them anyway. These tremolos, I tend to do them staccato because they're quick, and I'm not really trying to do them staccato. I'm actually connecting them, but it sort of sounds. If I do it slow, I tend to do them staccato. Go ahead and just play them. Play the right hand as connected as you can. You can't because of the chords. And then at the end of the line, you got the staccatos again. You're going to lose the staccato with the pedal. It doesn't matter. You still do the technique. And at the bottom of the page, the last couple measures, same thing. They don't give you any articulation here. I would suggest go ahead. You can do these staccatos if you want. Connect these 8th notes in the last measure. The idea, it's very connected, very majestic over there on page 13. It's two different things. You got one section here on page 12 with one theme in it, and then a different one on page 13. Then finally you might think about the dynamics, and that applies to the right hand. The melody loud, whatever you think loud is. Keep this soft, keep this in the back. It's easy for this to overpower the right hand. Keep it soft. So forth. Now you get down to the bottom page, they give you that hairpin, that crescendo to go up to very loud. Well, not a lot of difference between loud and very loud. So I suggest maybe you come down to about a moderately soft to moderately loud area in the middle, to give you more room to get louder. So on the last line on page 12, you're loud here. Now come down here. A little louder, louder. save most of the crescendo to the end of that. So plan it out. You want to lead into that very loud in the right hand. The left hand can come up, but keep it in the background. And you stay very loud until the third line when you come back down. Here. Very loud. This is the third line down. Start it very loud here. Softer. Now you're loud. And then you're going to go back up to very loud at the end. Loud. Here. Keep the wrists relaxed. Collapse the wrist a little bit on these loud notes. Don't stiffen up and play with a stiff wrist. We don't want to pound on it. We just want it to be loud. And then, of course, they've added pedal. Well, it's an orchestra piece. We want a lot of overtones, and we need help in connecting these chords because they should be connected. So, okay, well, we're not pedaling everything necessarily. You're not pedaling pickup. And it'd be nice not to pedal some other pickup like at the end of the line. The problem there is we got the tremolo going. And if we lift up on the pedal, it's going to affect that. So do you want to affect that? Or do you want to keep that going and just pedal it? Sometimes when pedaling, you have to make a choice to this or that or what. You decide. You can pedal it just like they're doing. It's overlapping pedal. Play the notes. And then the pedal. So the pedal lags behind the hands. And then when you change the pedal, it's after you play the notes. So there's a little bit of overlap, just a little bit, not much. And that always ensures there's sound going. So at the beginning, I'm going to go here. Play the notes, then the pedal. You change the pedal after I play the note. Got to be careful here because when you add the pedal, you add the overtones, everything tends to get a little louder. It seems a little louder, whether it is or not. So we can come down a little bit on the dynamics because of the pedal. So even when I add all the tremolo and everything going on, you might want to come down a little bit. And the con brio means with brilliance. It's not fast. It's in the middle here. When you get to page 13 on the maestoso, you might slow that down a little bit because it's majestic. It's whatever that is, I'm not sure. There's no slow down at the end. You just keep going all the way until it's over. You play around with it. You make it yours. Don't copy me, please. You experiment with the dynamics and don't play it fast.